Good morning. Welcome to the Texas Pinball Festival. Not everybody is here, but the most important people are here right now, right? Our first seminar today is more than a barrel of fun. We encourage you to ask questions. I've been told that it's going to be a little bit more of a Q&A than a presentation. If you have questions, please address them from the microphone because we are being videotaped and we want to make sure that we get your questions videotaped and also the responses also. So please just stand up, walk over to the microphone, ask your questions. So without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to David Van Ness for More Than a Barrel of Fun.
Well, I'd like to say thank you for you guys for turning up this early in the morning. And we know how late these shows go, and they will continue to go very late. So thank you for being up here. How many of you guys went to the swap meet this morning? That explains why you're here. So thank you for turning up. And I am David. I am the CEO of Barrels of Fun. I lead this crazy crew up here in the audience. We're very excited to be here at Texas Pinball Festival because this is the first time officially Jim Henson Labyrinth is here. And all the years beforehand, we were coming here under the skies of regular people just watching everything. So let me introduce the rest of the ragtag team here, and that would be over to Brian.
So I'm Brian Savage. I'm the Chief Business Officer or Chief Barrel Organizer, depending on however you want to say that. David and I met through a personal ad, a single or married white male looking for pinball partner for, no, that's not it. He sold me a game. So that's how we met.
Doctor Who.
Doctor Who. It's Doctor Who. So you can blame all of this on a Doctor Who pinball machine.
100%.
Absolutely.
And I still want to buy it back.
No, you can't have it. All right. Go, Jess.
I'm Jess Donardo. I'm over quality control for Barrels of Fun, and I adore it, and I love this game, and I love this amazing team of people, and I'm very, very happy to be here.
So if you're missing a coin box, it's her.
It's her fault.
Jess at collectfun.com. Just let me know.
Phil.
Hi, I'm Phil Grimaldi. I'm a rules designer at Barrels of Fun, and I try and make the games as fun as possible. Bowen, go ahead.
I'm Bowen Cairns. I'm the assistant to the rules designer, and we talk a lot about our ideas, and we argue with each other, and that's how it gets better. You see things that you think are good, and then you end up with something that's even better than any of the ideas that you were originally thinking of.
And to my left, I have Trent here, and I do, because he has the same background as me, so don't start a pinball company.
Right.
But I want to point out he does all the animations and the video work that goes into this game, and there's so much of that work to be done, but why don't you tell him exactly what you do?
Oh, okay, so I'm Trent Armstrong. I do the display graphics, about, 90% of that stuff. So any of the clips from the film, on the main screen and the lower playfield screen, some of the light shows on the playfield, and very excited to be here.
And we also got Travis, our mechanical engineer, in the audience over there. We've got Eric, who refuses to come up on stage. We've got Austin over there that helps us out in the factory. We got Blake over there, who does our social media photos. We got Aaron that leads all that over there. Who am I missing? Robert, where's Pickle? There he is. And he likes to be called Pickle, by the way. I'm not. That's why he wants to be called. So, yeah, so that's most of the team here. We've got people from the floor actually at the booth right now. So this is a good family company. We're happy to be here. So Trent, can you talk about, I would like you to talk about what it took to create the work on the display.
Okay, so it looks like, maybe, hopefully, in the game, that you are seeing just clips from the film. But the goal was that we would immerse you in the film, in the world of the Labyrinth, and you could actually play through the Labyrinth. So I took all of the footage, stills from the film, and removed a bunch of things, expanded a bunch of scenes, pulled things apart, like there's a Wise Man multi-ball, for example. And in order to have the pinballs roll through the Wise Man multi-ball, I had to pull the scene apart, recreate bushes in the scene, make it 6 or 8 levels deep, put it in a 3D world, and then have the balls be able to reflect off of that. I don't know what you're seeing right now. No, you're seeing me? Okay.
Well, these are just rolling slides, and I'm going to interrupt just a second. So we're just going to let them roll through here. There are different photos from the factory, and then what you're seeing now is we went out. That's our factory in California, otherwise known as Henson Studios. They're a subsidiary of Barrels of Fun, and so, but we're just let this roll through. But that's where we're at in California. You'll see a bunch of these slides too.
Yeah, if you see something and you have a question about it, make sure you raise your hand and come to the mic. So, okay. Another example would be the Fireys. Their heads do pop off in the film, but not 5 of them all at the same time and all that kind of stuff. So I would combine scenes, take heads and throw them and that kind of stuff. If you see anything, if you have seen anything that you have a question about, let me know and we can talk about it.
Well, some of the interesting things is when you're handing a license, you have to, it's not just playing the clips. So there's a lot of times like we would sit in our meetings and go, well, wouldn't it be cool if it does this? And you can see Trent typing something, you can see a little then it stops. And it's like, well, Trent will take care of it. And literally by the next day, he'll go, okay, here's a sample. What do you think? And, it's amazing the work that you do to make things happen that never existed previously.
You're very kind. Like the inside of Elo's apartment, I don't know, does he live in an apartment? Condo? Was generated from, I think it was generated from content outside in the wall, but then parts from other places. His tablecloth is, if you look closely, it's a screenshot of the wallpaper from Sarah's room when she's getting loaded down with all the junk. So I did a screenshot of that and used that for his tablecloth. And there's a poster of the misses on the wall if you pay close enough attention. So.
Well, and we also have a special mode for ELO. Phil, you like to talk about that?
Yeah, this is fresh, hot off the presses. We've got a new multi-ball mode. Elo's Tea Room. What do we? Elo multi-ball. Tea Party multi-ball. Tea Party multi-ball. But you actually get to take Elo up on his offer for tea with the missus, and you get to make some tea and have tea with them, and then stick around for too long and score some jackpots.
But is there sugar?
There is sugar. There's stirring.
Is there milk?
There's milk. All the things that you would expect in a proper tea party. Do we have biscuits? I don't think we have biscuits.
There's no biscuits and there's no gravy.
No gravy.
Well, what's interesting about that mode, it probably shouldn't exist, but a lot of this game was, when I was a kid watching this movie, it's like, why did Sarah choose to do that? And there's like, just this little thing of like, he invites her in for a cup of tea, but we never see that. So I've always been driving like, we need to have a tea party with Elo. And we finally got it in there. And when we're submitting stuff to Henson for approvals, they're like, yeah. And then it's like, are you literally going to have tea with Elo and the missus? I'm like, yeah. And she goes, you have no idea how excited we are about seeing this in the game. So it's just like, again, it's just little things that we want to see what happens. But Brian, you got anything you want to say? Do you want to open us up to Q&A?
Yeah, does anybody have any questions? All right, well, thanks for coming today, and come on, step up to the microphone. Somebody has to have some burning question.
I have a burning question for Jessica. First question is, do you have a dream theme that you'd like to produce next? And the second question is there a woman, female-oriented pinball machine that you think would appeal to the greater pinball world?
That is an amazing question. We constantly are talking to each other about this would be really cool or this would be really cool, and then David's like, yeah, that license is not a thing that's going to exist.
No.
I've been really interested to see a female-fronted music pin because we haven't had anything like that since Dolly Parton. So I would love to see something along those lines. You see some, like in Avengers, you have, Black Widow and that kind of thing, but not a fully fronted machine, so it would be great to have something like that. So far as dream theme for me, I would love.
Go to your second one.
And there we go. What was the rest of that?
Yep, and then the other thing I'd like to see. I just want to see the field broaden up. So I want to see different genres of movies and films and music and things that we haven't seen before. So I'm looking forward to the community continuing to diversify in terms of themes.
Yeah, and we do appreciate and love all the different comments about what people are interested in. It's a lot of times in licensing, the problem today is the licensor is not interested. You can't get it. So a lot of times it's not what you want, it's more what you can get. So, and that's not just us, that's everybody in the industry. So you may always go, well, this would make a great thing, but sometimes the license rights are not obtainable because they're fractured in so many different people, you just can't wrap a bow around it.
And that's why it's really important to hear what you guys want, because there's many meetings that we have that things get thrown at us. And the more deeper the well is of we know what you guys want, it's easier to, if they come to us, it's going to be a much better opportunity for us to make that game,
So there's two parts to that licensing that you mentioned. There is one, the licensor doesn't want it, meaning they're like not interested in doing pinball. And then it's not really available, or it's very difficult to get because of the fractured rights. So when they say they don't want it or they're not interested, why? What are they
Well,
saying?
that's a good question, and you'd have to ask the people that own the IP property. When we go to the licensing show every year, there are people, they have their basket of what we're pushing today. But we ask about this over here, and it's, no, you don't want that. You want something out of the basket we're pushing today.
So it's that it's not in the active licensing bucket, so to speak. It's not necessarily like we hate pinball and we don't want to do it.
No, well, you can run into that, but that's not, I think people have heard enough, there's another company that perhaps has Harry Potter. And, J.K. Rowling for years was the rumor that we would hear is that she wasn't interested in pinball because it might end up in a bar or gambling or, that old stereotypical thing. So you could have any kind of different reason, from a person is elderly and they control all their likeness rights, but they're not well enough to approve anything. So those things just get in a stalemate. They just don't like pinball. It's not a product they've thought about. They don't think it represents their persona or whatever. It could be a zillion reasons why. You don't know. They don't tell you.
Well,
They just,
and the other side of that is there's only so many assets to go around. So for a T-shirt, they also can make millions of dollars of a T-shirt. Where it comes to a pinball machine, is that they have an image and they have a stock list of images that they can approve. But when you're dealing with creating worlds, you're dealing with personalities, you're dealing with the music side of it. So it's one of those things that's never clear cut. So it's one of those things of when we approach people, they approach us, is like, what does that world look like? And how can we tell that story that just doesn't excite the licensor, but ignites the fan base? Because I'm only interested in what makes the collectors excited. That's what makes me excited. I got into pinball because I'm excited about the theme that's on the game and the world that I get to explore. And that's what Barrels of Fun is all about. How can we make that game represent the pinnacle of that IP or that license or that thing? That's what Barrels is all about.
yeah, and sometimes you might want to, even though it's your dream license, if they're going to put you in a style guide box and say, this is all you can have, the smartest thing might be to say, we'll pass. Because it doesn't fit. We want to build the world. We don't want to just have, this is the 5 stock pieces of art we can use wherever, and then when it comes out to market, people go, well, why does the art look like that? Well, it's because they made us.
And we've passed on licenses because of that.
It's like, if we can't have what we need, we're just not going to do it.
And licensors take a big risk by opening that up to something wider. But I think we also now, we have something to show them. We have Labyrinth to show them of what we're capable of doing for making a product and a license look the way it ought to. And I think it's also opening up channels too. We're like, oh man, you did this. Well, could you do that for us as well? And it's been really interesting to see that side of the result of bringing Labyrinth to market.
And then you'll have the minor side of it where you'll have lesser known groups or lesser tested genres, let's put it that way, that come to us and you have to go, I don't know. And you look at everything out there in today's world, even the 1,000 different suggestions people have made, it's such a shotgun now because there's, 5,000 YouTube, 5 million YouTube things you can watch. There's 300 TV channels. So the likelihood that you and I watched the same program last night is slim to none. Whereas, this is why people keep going back to the 60s and 70s and 80s. When you had fewer media outlets, the likelihood that we had a corporate experience together watching some show and go to work the next day, we're talking about it over the water cooler, that was highly likely. But today it's just everywhere. So you really kind of have to look at some of the minor stuff and go, interesting, I don't know. We have to think about it, type of thing.
So, Small Wonder then? Are we
Oh,
doing
here
Small
comes
Wonder?
trouble. No comment.
I have a question to Trent. How much man-months or man-years have you invested in all of the displays? Because from when it moved over on pinball from DMD to LCD, I think all the effort exploded.
So how long have I been interested in the
You were like
displays?
10 when you started this, weren't you?
Yes.
Okay.
Might as well have been. Interested in the so when David approached me back in 2019 and said, hey, we're going to be using this film and using pieces of it on the display for the pinball machine, I had to take a moment, like a sit-down kind of moment, because this is one of my favorite films.
Well, the first mistake is you come and chase me down at TPF. I was
Yeah.
like, Dave, I want to know how you do all that display work. Like, I want to talk to you about it. And that was your first mistake.
Yeah, big mistake. 2019 is maybe, I'll go back a little bit when the multimorphic booth showed up a couple of years into the P3 machine, and I saw that. My mind was blown, and I was just imagining all the possibilities that could happen on the back glass or the play field of the pinball machine. And that's when I started becoming interested. And then I saw Dave's work on Alice Cooper. Yeah. And I was like, oh, hey, that, not like, I think I could do that, but maybe I could do that. And then David convinced me that I could.
You didn't have a choice.
Didn't have a choice. Strong-armed into it.
But also,
The Aussie charm.
it gets a lot of people into trouble, the Aussie charm. The work that you and Eric together have been able to do to use the two displays to work together to bring the vision that Phil and Bowen have for different ideas in the game has amazing. If you've played through any of the frenzy modes, you can see when Hoggle shoots one of the fairies, it drops from the top screen through the bottom screen. So it's this combination of Trent's amazing work actually making that look good and then Eric being able to translate it to code. And it's seamless and it's fun. Like the game has such a sense of joy because it's genuinely bringing you into this world and they're using all the different pieces available to make that happen.
Did I feel like I danced around? Did I answer your question? How much time have I invested? Oh, okay. 5 years. Nights and weekends. So, yeah. Not every night and every weekend, but a lot of them.
Trent, one of my favorite modes, or one of my favorite animation work that you did in the game is in the knockers mode. And if you've ever played the knockers, in that scene, the protagonist, Sarah, is going through and she has to remove the knocker from one of the knockers, put it in the other one and knock it. But if you see the animation work, it's almost like completely novel. It looks like it's from the movie, but it's not. Can you talk a little bit about how you did that and how long it took you to basically recreate those scenes, but make it like the players actually doing this?
I think that was somewhere around a 2 or 3 week thing. So I would take still shots as much as I could of the environment, and then use Photoshop stamp brush and things like that to stamp over Jennifer Connelly, even remove Ludo from some scenes, and then remove the knocker from the door so I could just have a blank door, put the knocker face back and fill in all the things around where the ring would be or not be, and then pull pieces off of the face, pull the mouth apart. Some of it was masked, and then the video was used. Some of it was relit. Some of it was like the ring. I would pull the ring off, recreate pieces of the ring, kind of move it around in 3D space, watch the footage, make sure I was matching how the ring was being pulled off, looping the mouth, doing its things, opening and closing and that kind of stuff. And then for the arm, I had a piece of stock photo. I think Jennifer's hand is still on the nose of the knocker, but anytime the hand is not attached, when it's reaching up, getting ready to grab the nose, that's a stock arm with puppet tools, so the wrist can move. Creative cutting, creative editing between the arm out here and on the nose. When the door opens, I took the knocker and extruded it in 3D space a little bit so the door can turn. You'll notice, maybe you don't want to, but the door doesn't quite open all the way like it does in the film. But I extruded it just far enough so you can get a little bit of parallax on it as the door turns. And then we cut inside the door. So there was a lot of manual labor, a lot of creative editing to go along with it. And
So
that's
you can
one of
see
my-
just anybody can do this, right?
Yeah, anybody can do it.
Here's the thing. How long's that clip?
What each of them are about 3 seconds or 4 seconds
All
each.
that work for 3 seconds.
And there's five of them. But it's one of my favorites too. I love watching, especially watching Bowen play that.
We were talking about this last night about choreography and how when things are really well designed like they are in what you just described, you don't notice. You're playing the game, it just feels like, oh, yeah, that's what should happen. And you don't notice really good choreography in pinball. It just feels right somehow. But you always notice something that's like, oh what just happened? Something's wrong, something's weird. But when things are right, it just feels seamless. And so next time you get to play Labyrinth, just take some time and really pay attention to what those animations look like and what the details are. My detail in knockers is that every mode has a name displayed. And when the name, the knockers, flops into view, it bounces a little bit like a knocker would on there. And each one of the modes has a different way of having the name of the mode presented. And those are the little touches. Like when I think of great pinball, I think of like the detail in Williams from the 90s on choreography and timing and sound effects. And there's so many details to get right in these processes. That any of them could go wrong, and you would say, "Oh, this game sucks." I don't know why, but it sucks, and it's so difficult to get that right on a first try. And Trent, you did amazing.
Thanks, man.
Well, and it's all about creating those moments that you remember from the film or that license. Is like, how can we encapsulate that moment but make it personal for you guys? You know, and that's everything that we do is, how was that moment happen and how can we make it special? Questions?
So I watched pretty much everything I could find out about the game, and so I came across YouTube and saw that Adam Savage had a tidbit with y'all, which was totally awesome. So my question is simply did you expect to have that kind of opportunity? I mean, working with Jim Henson, the company itself, are they just absolutely easy to deal with when it comes to that and help promotion, or was this something in your game plan that you pursued to go and get more more of yourself out in a more wide audience? Because like I said, there's millions of people that have seen him on TV shows for the last 15 years.
So when we started down this path, a lot of this is just opportunity. There is a game plan to it, but it's basically watching all the chess pieces move around and what is the opportunity to get this out to a wider audience. So like obviously I was working with the Henson company, that led to me to work with Johnny Fraser from Weta. He has a relationship with Adam. Adam is a huge Labyrinth person, so it's just almost organic, opportunities that presented itself. And, they're as passionate about what they do as we are, and we kind of, I guess, gravitate towards each other. So it's one of those things of, how can we make each other excited? It's almost like a one-upmanship for everyone.
Well,
It's like,
they feed off of each other.
yeah, and
that's
it's just
for
like,
sure.
what are you going to do? Okay, well, I can do this. You ask anyone that works with barrels, and none of them, Brian and me knew where we were going, but everyone, Phil is a good example. It's just, he keeps once you tell, we've told the story about when we was at Expo, you turned up and was like, holy crap, you're really, this is it, you're here. And I was like, well, that was the plan.
Surprise.
Okay, to be fair though, when David approached me, he came, when he asked me if I wanted to be involved in making a pinball machine. This is also on the tails of many failed pinball startup companies, and do I want to be part of that? And he said, you know what, we're not going to go live with anything until we have a product ready to sell. And I said, that's great, I'll be a part of that. So early on, what he had early on was, foam core whitewoods, concept drawings, things like that. It was an idea, it wasn't real yet. And over the course of a year and a half, at some point, all of these ideas, everybody working together on these things, when Eric came in and started making everything actually come to life, and then when you started seeing the real cabinets and the real artwork, at some point, maybe 6 months before Expo, we went live with this. There's just this moment of, oh my gosh, this game is legit. This is really good, and it's not just I'm biased because I was a part of this. This was okay, there's a lot of pinball machines out there, and they do all the things. They do what you expect them to do, but some games, they're special. They have it. And when I was looking at this game, it was this game has it. And when it went live at Expo, it was that moment. This is that moment of validation. This game is really good. And I told David, oh my gosh, you did it. You madman, you did it. It's been a really fun adventure to be on, and I'm super proud to be working with everybody at Barrels. It's just an absolute wild experience.
Yeah, I think one of the turning points for everybody was when everything moved out of David's living or dining room, okay, into the 20,000-foot facility, and people would come and go, oh, this is a real thing. Yes, it's a real thing. We have rent to pay.
I do still have 2 machines in the dining room.
Yeah, they
so
probably
just
belong
so
to
you
me,
know.
but that's okay.
I'm curious. You go first, Bone, but I want to hear what Phil has to say about designing the rules and how.
Oh, I was just going to ask if you're shipping yet.
Yes. We don't have any ships, but we send out games.
A question to you, David, because the licensor, they take care about their IP, and how do you see it now, where you have delivered maybe 100 games or something like this, and you see here on the booth of Lord of the Game Rooms a lot of mods and other companies working on mods on the game and adjusting your baby and modify it a bit. How do you see it, and how do you feel about it?
It doesn't feel real in a way, just seeing where it's come from and where it's going. Again, like I told everyone after Expo, that we're just starting the climb of the mountain, and it's well, David, you should celebrate this. I'm enjoying this, but until we have every game in everyone's home, we're not done. And when I see the energy from everyone on the team and the young families and the people playing the game, and Henson even Labyrinth is very, very special to them, but it's not one of their, higher IPs that they're pushing at that time. When I went after it, they were doing the new Dark Crystal, they were doing all this other stuff. And I'm wow, you really went for it. And it's just go big or go home. I've worked a lot in other service industries, and this is one of these things I want to empower people around me to make great stuff. And I think Labyrinth is just the start of that. And there's a lot more still to come. I don't know if that answers your question, but I like to make short stories long, so I apologize.
Yeah, I want to know what was going through your heart, your head when you were designing rules for Labyrinth.
Sure. So when David approached me, he had early whitewood prototype and kind of just Adobe Illustrator layouts basically of the game, and so most of the original rule set was developed with that in mind, and also my memory and personal feelings about about Labyrinth and the movie and what happens. So it was very important to me to kind of evoke the feelings of going through the labyrinth and what that's like. As a player myself and a gamer, it was also important to make a compelling, cogent gameplay experience. So trying to make everything fit in with the theme of the movie, evoke the feeling, but also kind of come together in some cohesive way. When I play board games, for example, like I love it when there's a lot of really simple rules, but when you put them all together and piece them together, it creates like really interesting opportunities for scoring, strategies. And so the game itself might not be complex, or the rules might not be complex, but the opportunities afforded to you are enormous, and you have, you can use your mind and strategy to score higher points. So looking at the theme, though, things like the friends, it was very important that the friends, as in the movie, they help you out throughout the game. And so like you have Hoggle, who in the movie, he knows the labyrinth up and down. He knows all the shortcuts. He helps you get through the labyrinth faster. Didymus, he's super brave and brazen, and he comes to your defense at all times, so he can control that outpost. And then Ludo, he's heart of gold. He controls the rocks. He brings the points. So those elements are brought into there, and then a lot of the scenes and iconic moments throughout the movie are played out through modes. And again, the whole thing is trying to evoke this feeling of you're moving through the labyrinth, you're encountering these scenes, your friends are helping you along the way, and you're given all these different decisions to maximize your scoring potential. That was the early vision. I started, like I said, with those early drawings, and then as the game developed and we got to flip it, we kind of figured out that certain things didn't work. Then Bowen came on and said, this doesn't work, here's how we can improve it. And Bowen was excellent at finding ways that we can take these initial kind of sketches of the designs and really flesh them out and make them compelling to the player, give them more options and better choices to make. And then we added more and more modes and things like that as it came on. And Eric was also very instrumental in figuring out what works and what doesn't work in the actual code. And then, we get way too much credit for all these rules, but like a lot of it's a team effort. And we're constantly throwing out ideas on what's gonna work and what's not. Ultimately, it comes down to, this is a really good idea. Does it work within the framework of this game? And we can use that as a way of triaging things.
And then there's Superman over here that has to take those rules and code it and make it work seamlessly. And so that's another huge part. He wouldn't come up here, but that's another huge part of this is he's got to make it work. And if you saw the Slack channel, it's like, this is what I fixed today. Oh, now, this is what I fixed today.
And then Bowen goes in and breaks everything.
Oh, yeah, but you hadn't fixed this and this and that. Okay, I'll still get it. So I have a question for Jess. So what do you like the most about working for Barrels of Fun in the factory?
We have an amazing team at Barrels. So I met these guys at Expo in Chicago and was super just excited by the launch, the theme. I love David Bowie, like Labyrinth was a part of my childhood. But seeing their approach and their passion for it at the show, you feel that excitement at a show. It's a new game, tons of people are excited about it, everyone's really positive. But then to follow up and go into the factory and meet all of the people who are actually building the games and see how dedicated they were and excited they were about being there and building this got me even more excited. So I'm like, yes, immediately, day 2 there. Yes, I'm moving to Houston now, and I'm going to come and do this because I want to be a part of this, because I really care about making this experience great and getting these games to people and having them be the best they can be. So being a part of team that supports each other in that way of how can we better ourselves and how can we complement one another's strengths to do that, and having people who are willing to work together to be flexible and change to find the best way to make this happen has been so amazing. And the support that I've received from everyone, and I feel very heard. I've never done anything like this. I've done tech work for forever. So to walk into this environment and have these amazing people who will actually listen to me talk about weird ideas and acknowledge them in a way that doesn't feel like they're brushing you off, it's such a wonderful feeling, and I am so proud to be a part of this team.
Well, and that's one of the things is it's like we've got employees, because they're not workers, they're employees, that we have to literally at 5 o'clock at night tell them to go home. And we have to walk the floor. It's like, go home. And they turn up at 6:30 in the morning and they just keep doing it. It's every day. Let's walk the floor. Everyone's got to go home. Because I don't want you all to burn out.
Why are you looking at me when you say you have to force people to go home?
It's like, no, we do not work on weekends. We're going to keep on, we got to stick to the 5-day schedule.
Fine.
Some people just show up unannounced and ask for jobs.
Thanks, Pickle. Oh, love your shirt.
Good morning. Yeah, thanks. Very excited about this whole thing we got going on. It's awesome. So I think that for all of us, pinball, our interests are driven from when we very begin, right? And the question that I have for everybody on the panel is, what is your earliest memory or your first pinball that you remember ever playing? Mine, I'll start it off, was Aztec, and that was probably in the early 70s.
I was 6 years old in the basement of a hotel in Miami Beach, Florida. It's very dark, and there's all these machines. One of them had crickets, but I was too scared of that one. And I played this game that then you rolled over a white thing in the top corner, and it made this loud siren noise that gave you a crap load of points. And I was like, wow, that was amazing. I had no idea what game that was. Until 20 years later, I'm standing with Roger Sharp at Pinball Expo and looking at Sharpshooter and going that's it. That's the game from the basement in Miami Beach. And I'm standing next to the guy who made this game, and his picture is up there. Why am I not in the back glass of Labyrinth?
Aren't you the babe that's in the back list? I don't know.
What babe?
For earliest pinball memory was playing Addams Family when I was 7 years old at a ice cream shop down the road from our house. My dad would take us there. There's a driving range next door. We'd shoot some golf balls, go get some ice cream, and play pinball. That was my earliest pinball memory.
So since I'm really old, my first memory was in a roller rink in a little Texas town outside of Fort Worth. There was of course, there was an EM back in the 60s, so all the bells and chimes. But really, I probably played that a couple times, but really my dad got a Fireball Home edition. And so when I was 16, and so we would just play that thing till it was, dead. And my friends would, when I went in there, we used to keep, because it didn't keep high score, so it had a little sticky note that was on top of the, thing of the high score. So when I wouldn't be in there, my friends would take the glass off and run the score up and put the glass back, and I'd come back in and go, wow, that's okay. We'll put you down as a high score. So
My first memory was the Evel Knievel pinball machine that my uncle had in the basement of his house that I would sit and play during family functions, being terribly antisocial, but in love with it. But my mom's earliest memory of me playing was standing on a milk crate at Coney Island back in New York and not being able to tear me off the games. I don't remember it as clearly as she does, but when she explains it to me, I can see it the way she did.
So mine is in a fish and chip shop in Woodside, and no one knows where that is, but I do. And I think it's interesting you talk about this. It's not just about the machine, but notice how the location plays a really key part on that moment. But we picked up 12 movies from the video store because we were cheap, and we get the 12 weekly movies for $5. And we're waiting for our fish and chips, and there was a Terminator 2 pinball machine, and just saw that movie, fell in love with it, and it's like I had to play that game. So that was my first experience.
I'm sure I played pinball before college, but at the University of Alabama, they had about 5 or 6 games that they would rotate between the dorms. And there was roller games and taxi and a couple others, just like the golden era right there. And my roommate, David, and my friend Gabe and I would play. And then when my now wife, Katie, showed up, she had the taxi machine in her dorm. And that was our dates sometimes. We would play taxi in her dorm. And so shortly after we got married, we got us a taxi machine.
Any other questions?
I had a question about like technical support. Is the game built up on a system that y'all are going to be using in future games? And that then when this is out of production, it's like, okay, here's parts to maintain your game and everything.
Yeah, we'll have a stock of parts when we're done. Most of the parts that we have are fairly common, in the industry. There's a couple specialty items. We also we'll have extra of the toys and things like that that'll be around a while. A couple things that we'll do in our store eventually, because there's no need for parts at this point, because everything's under warranty. But when we get to that point, we'll have the ability that you can go to the store and order a part, or a distributor can go and order a part, for somebody. So it'll be really easy for you. You won't have to call and wait on somebody if you know that's the part you need, or if you get a technical support and say, hey, you need this part, just order it and we'll ship it out to you. But we will support this game, so that's not a problem. There'll be parts around for a long time.
You talked about toys. Is there anything in particular you could talk about, the creation of the toys, how the toys, what makes their build quality?
So how many of you, because I didn't bring them in here because I'm lazy, how many of you have bought a game or have signed up for a game or received a game in here? Anybody? Okay. So you need to bring your invoice by the booth on a screen, and if you don't have it, we can look it up too. Well, except for the distributors, we can't look theirs up. But bring that by, show it to us, and there's a lapel pin that you'll get, the little Barrels logo, and so you need to bring that from 2 to 5 this afternoon over to Elo's Tea Room, which is over here in the Bush Room across the hall right back here. So we have in there a lot of prototype things, and in that room are several samples of the different hair issues we went through with the topper. You can see, because I have hair issues, so it was kind of near and dear to my heart. But we have one, Snarf is the character with the long nose. We have what we call Carrot Top Snarf, because we had a lot of different hair that they sent us, and we go, no, 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 and hell no. And there's some really scary doll heads in there too of hair. So all the toys in this machine are a different type of manufacturing than I had done in the past. I used to run the G.I. Joe and Transformer Collectors Clubs under license from Hasbro, so I've made over 500 limited edition G.I. Joes, over 150 limited Transformers. So I have a lot of manufacturing experience with things like that. But we had to have something that was more durable. So we went to a different type molding product for this, which was kind of new for us. One of the issues we had was David had these fantastic sculpts done, and when you're molding things, you can't have an undercut because it won't come out of the mold. So I had to keep going to the designer and say, you got to take that out, take that out, take that out, dumb that down, dumb it down, dumb it down, to where we could actually mold it. Otherwise, it would be too many parts and too expensive. So that was kind of a learning experience on this, but now we found a material that is, super durable. We've got great sculpts in the machine. The sculpts for the toppers, those had been around. How long have I been working on this topper?
Been long.
A long time. A long time. When he was first conceived this game, he had the idea of those 3 head toppers, and so this has been going on. It just kept evolving, and finally we go, well, hey, let's make them talk. And people go, well, the mouths don't move. That's because they're telepathic. I mean, gosh, don't you know goblins? They don't have to move their mouth. But then we thought, well, let's put some animation in it, and we can at least put them on servos, and have them turn and talk back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. So there was a big evolution in the design. My personal fear for this machine is that I'm not really sure how we make a better topper for any other machine we ever make. I mean, so it's kind of like, wow, we set the bar super high on this. But the toys take about 6 months to run once you have sculpts, and it's just a lot of steps because you got to have color call outs, you got to have different samples, you got to have a lot of things to get them to where you want them. So it's a lot of process, but it's fun, it's interesting. So that's kind of a little bit about the toys. But come this afternoon and look at all the hair samples, because you'll get a big laugh out of a lot of them.
So without getting into specifics, because you won't, but what's your pathway forward if you flash forward 3 to 5 years and you're looking back, not talking about specific games, but like, what do you want to have happened if you're 5 years from your launch date from, Expo?
Well, I mean, we didn't start this with one game. We have a 10-year plan for all of this. So we have things in place. We're growing faster than we anticipated. But, we're just going to see where this goes. And we have things in place. We're executing, as we see fit.
Yeah, we have other licenses. We don't want to be a behemoth. We want to make the highest quality game, and we've used this word before, is if you're familiar with sideshow, toys or figures or sculpts or whatever, we want to kind of be the sideshow of pinball. We don't have to make the most. We don't have to make, the biggest runs of games, but what we want to make are the best quality games with the IPs that you love. Because just to put a game out is kind of useless, to me.
And the team's going
and
to
it'll show. It'll show because you're just going through the motions and go, I don't care.
We don't want to look back. We want to work on things that the team is excited about, our family is excited about, and you guys are our family. We would not be here today if it wasn't for you guys supporting us. And that means the world, not just to me or Brian or the team here, but the employees on the floor. Like, we have employees that have never seen pinball. I mean, one of the things was going through this process and getting vendors. I would go to them, can you make this part? And they're like, oh, okay, we can do that. What's it for? A pinball machine. They still make those. Yeah. And it's like when people come in to apply for the job, they come in, which we are employing. So if you're looking to work on the floor at a pinball factory, come and talk to us. We'll get you hooked up. It's like they come in as like, first thing is like, you have AC in the warehouse, in the factory? Yes, we do. And then that goes, wow, we're actually making machines and toys? Yes. And seeing how appreciative they are. And the people working the booth today never played pinball before, come to work for us. And they're like, can we come to TPF? Can we come to the shows? And I'm like, absolutely, because they're a part of the family, and you guys are a part of the family. I just want to say thank you for turning up today. We know 9 a.m. is an early start, but again, we wouldn't be here if it wasn't for you guys. So thank you.
All right, are there we'll take one more question if anybody else has one. Any other questions?
While we're waiting on the question, back to the topper. It was a recent development that Travis suggested, a disco party dancing for the toppers that Eric was like, oh, you mean like this? And suddenly the toppers were dancing, it looked like they were on a disco floor.
That literally happened in about 4 days.
Yeah, and there's 65 call-outs for the toppers now in the game.
Scenes.
So it's a lot.
Scenes, yeah.
No, scenes, 65 scenes.
And they're each very individually animated by Eric, frame for frame. Okay, they said this, we gotta do this and this and this and this. It's I don't know how that happened.
And my least favorite thing is when they make fun of me and how I'm playing.
Well, they don't make fun of me, so I don't really understand what you're saying. So
Do you have a favorite topper call out?
I don't know. No, I did. I mean, it was very enjoyable if you were here last night when Bowen was demoing. It's like all of a sudden they randomly say something that fit right in the conversation or right where he was. So that's what's interesting about him. I think the funnest part about him is more of the surprise of what they're going to say and what they're going to do because they act like goblins. So I think it's just, like I said, I don't know how we'll ever top this topper with any game that we do. So it's going to be, we're still noodling a lot of stuff on that.
Oh, watch this space, right?
Yeah, watch this here, hold my beer. So, all right, anybody else? Well, we would sure like to thank all of you for coming out today. And if you have any other questions, stop us. We'll be happy to answer anything we can except for what the next title is or the next 10 titles or whatever.
Toy Story
But you
5.
can make Toy Story 12.
Story 5.
Was Friday the 19th. I think those were the two that we were thinking about making. But yeah, please come and talk to us. Come visit us. If you've got a game or a pen, come this afternoon from 2 to 5. And we sure appreciate all you coming out early this morning. And y'all have a great weekend.
Thank you.